What's up, guys? Today we are going to talk Mandalorian Season 2 because last week there was a scoop that came out on slashfilm.com that said Timothy Olyphant might be playing Cobb Vanth in The Mandalorian Season 2. He is a book character from the Aftermath series. Before we dive into that, I do want to clarify that based on what I read, it says that Timothy Olyphant is going to wear the Boba Fett armor. It does not say he will be Cobb Vanth, but that seems like a logical and short leap to make because there's also word that Tamira Morrison is coming back to play Boba Fett or maybe Rex or someone else. But if you're bringing Morrison back, why?
Why would he wear the armor?
Right.
Yeah.
So Cobb Vanth seems like the logical choice.
Yeah, and this news came about a week, maybe a little over a week, when in our previous Q&A, when
right.
You were like, this would never happen.
Yeah, about a week ago, I was like, there's no way Cobb Vanth is going to be in The Mandalorian. Like, Boba Fett will just show up with his armor, and he's not going to mention getting it back from Cobb Vanth. So if this is all true, I'm wrong yet again. I'm happy to be wrong because I think this is awesome.
Yeah, I hope that Cobb Vanth is in the show because it's such a cool way to bring back Boba Fett in like two different ways. And like also incorporate something from a book series that a lot of people may not know into live action.
I mean, I just now had a thought of like, what if we see Boba Fett, we see the armor, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's Boba Fett. And then maybe he's talking to Din and he takes his helmet off and Din's like, what are you doing? Leave your helmet on. But then it's like, that's not Boba Fett. That's Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah.
And that would be kind of a fun fake out. And would also kind of play into the theme that I've been harping on over and over is like, what does it mean to be a Mandalorian? And I already kind of thought that Boba Fett could fit this bill as well. Like, I think that all of this could show Din that it's like, hey man, the armor doesn't make you a Mandalorian. Whether or not you keep your helmet on or off, that doesn't make you a Mandalorian. You're just focusing on rules and not like your inner character.
What do you think people will think of this if it happens this way? So we see Cobb Vanth come in with the armor, but we also have Boba Fett in the show. What if Boba Fett doesn't want the armor back and doesn't want that life anymore?
Well, that's interesting because, yeah, it seems like for anyone who doesn't know who Cobb Vanth is, we'll just run through. He's in the Aftermath trilogy. He's in one chapter in each book. And you just get kind of like this little micro story about this guy who is in a sand crawler that was scavenging pieces from Jabba's sail barge, and he finds Mandalorian armor pocked with acid. And it doesn't say it's Boba Fett's armor. It just like it heavily implies.
Yeah.
He takes the armor. He becomes the sheriff of a place on Tatooine called Freetown, and he is protecting people. He seems like a good dude. He is a former slave, and he's trying to like carve out a life for people.
Does anyone recognize the armor?
It's been a while since I've read the chapters.
I feel like that's something someone might recognize.
Well, yeah, it's not like he's wearing the least conspicuous armor ever. Like, I do think it would be recognizable, and I do feel like someone does question who that is. And he's like, no, I'm Cobb Vanth. I'm the sheriff of Freetown.
No, it's me.
Again, it's been years since I've read those books, but that's his basic story. And then, yeah, my assumption was that would just largely be ignored in The Mandalorian Season 2, and that Boba Fett would just appear with his armor again. But you might be absolutely right that maybe he crawled out of the Sarlacc pit and was like, now's a chance for me to kind of change who I am. I got a clean slate. Everyone can assume I'm dead, and I can go off and do something else.
Right, yeah.
But on the flip side, we could see a showdown between Boba Fett and Cobb Vanth. Like,
Yeah, like if he sees Cobb Vanth with his armor, maybe he's like, that's mine.
Right.
And I want it back.
And like that does raise the question, like, well, why'd you take it off in the first place? What happened after you got out of the Sarlacc pit?
Maybe he had to.
Maybe.
For some reason. Or, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe he just didn't want to be recognized.
Who knows? Like, I'm sure there's an answer, but it does, to me, seem like, okay, if Boba Fett survived, he took the armor off. But why? And so that's a question that I don't know. If they don't answer it, it's like, okay, fine, because it's giving me kind of Jodo Cast vibes, which I always loved that story in Legends because I think it's hilarious that, like, Boba Fett died and everyone was like, oh, but we like that character, so we'll just make Jodo Cast, and he's basically the same thing. And then they decided, let's bring Boba Fett back, and they're like, guess we have to kill Jodo Cast now. And I always thought that was funny. So we could see something similar where Boba Fett is trying to get his armor back.
What do you think the chances are that they do bring on Tamir Morrison, but he plays Rex and not Boba Fett at all?
I think that is a possibility. We're going to talk about that in another video because we were taking that week off and then so much news happened, as it always does anytime we try to take a break.
But it was all still rumors.
Yes, but it's like being reported by, I would say, reputable sources. Yeah. They did say Morrison would have a small role. So that could be just a cameo appearance as Rex.
Yeah, the small role part means to me maybe it is just Rex, and maybe he's with live action Ahsoka, and they both show up together. Or maybe they bring him in as Boba Fett, but keep it a small role because they have more plans for that character in the future.
And that's like, I wonder if people would be disappointed that it wasn't Boba Fett. They see the armor and they're like, oh, it's not Boba Fett, it's someone else. Would people be upset by that? Like, I wouldn't be. I'm very excited that they're being inclusive of the books, but people who haven't read the books might be like, hey.
People are going to be upset either way.
That's true. They'll find something. But yeah, it's an interesting little conundrum. And maybe this will be... Maybe this Cobb Vanth stuff is a very small thing. Like, it could be...
I'm sure it is.
It could be little interludes, kind of like the Aftermath books, where maybe that was Cobb Vanth at the end of episode 5, the gunslinger, and then we'll see him again, and this time it's just a scene of, like, Boba Fett showing up to take his armor back. And maybe Timothy Olyphant is just, like, doing a favor. He's like, yeah, I'll play this character for a scene, lose the armor, and then, like, we keep building to, like, this Boba Fett is coming back and he's going to fight the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a cool way to reintroduce the character and build up some hype for maybe if he is getting his own show or movie or whatever.
I mean, my hope is that he becomes an antagonist to the Mandalorian. Because, again, it's like, what makes you a Mandalorian? Is it the armor? No, it's not. Because if Boba Fett is here and he's, like, out to kill the child, if he's, like, the big bad bounty hunter that the Imperial Remnant hires to find, like, that's the perfect face-off, I think, for this new Mandalorian character we have grown to love. And, like, oh, here's the old guy that we know... And, like, now that we're pitting them against each other, and some people are going to be like, I don't know who to root for. But after a handful of seasons, like, I'm already on board with Din. If Boba Fett's going after the baby, he's out. Unforgivable.
We talked about this a long time ago when people wondered if Boba Fett would be in season 1. And we were like, well, if he's there and he is trying to take the child away and give it to the bad guys or kill it, absolutely not.
Yeah, you're dead to me. Go back in that Sarlacc pit.
Get out of here. So.
Oh, and here's another my hope that, like, maybe this is just a small little interlude about Cobb Vanth and Boba Fett, is that I don't really want another episode on Tatooine. Like, that's where Cobb Vanth is located. So that means we're probably going to see Tatooine again. I don't know why he would leave Freetown. Again, they can find a reason, but like...
I mean, maybe we see something really interesting and different on Tatooine and Freetown.
Sure. It's just like, we're going back to Tatooine again. Like,
I mean,
we go to Tatooine in most of the movies.
Yeah.
And then we go again in The Mandalorian. And I'm just over desert planets. That's just kind of... So I don't really want Din to have to go back again. And then we see this whole other... Sure, they can show us something new and different, but like, I'm kind of hopeful we do something else. Then again, Jon Favreau shared that image of the Gamorrean Guard. Like, that could play into Freetown, because after Jabba's palace, like, there's a power vacuum, and that's kind of Cobb Vanth is trying to keep law on Tatooine. So that Gamorrean Guard that Favreau showed off could play into that. Malakili is there. There's like a baby hut in Freetown. There is a lot to explore there.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing all that.
I wouldn't either. I just don't want to dwell on it too much.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, okay. So one last, now that it's in my head, I'm going to just make a big old speculation. I'm going to say that it will be one scene in Freetown. That it's going to be an interlude of Boba Fett going to Freetown and just like kind of having a showdown with Cobb Vanth. But first we're going to think, oh, there's Boba Fett, there's the armor, and then he'll do the reveal, and we're like, that's not Boba Fett. Oh, there's Boba Fett. Right?
Uh-huh.
You're following me?
Yeah.
And then it's going to cut, and we'll just kind of like we'll know that Boba Fett got his armor back. I think it's going to be a little thing.
Okay. I'm just excited to see the child again.
I know. Do you want to hold? You want to hold these while we do our Mandalorian videos?
Gimme.
But yeah, let us know what you think about Cobb Vanth, this book character coming to live action. How do you think it might play out in The Mandalorian? Let us know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.